to get something out of the way. It was never one of my career goals to be an unemployed celebrity. That is what I became in the great city of Los Angeles in May of last year. And since that time, when I go through airports, or I go to the grocery store, or I go to the hardware store, people recognize me and they come up to me, and it will not surprise you that given all that's been in the news, almost always the first question they ask is, "Oh my God, how tall are you?" And so I just want to get that out of the way because it might be distracting you. I am 6 feet 8 inches tall. It's a bit of a freak show, but you've seen some actual tall people on this stage. But we're going to talk some tonight. I'm going to talk affirmatively about some of my weaknesses, and I'm sure some will become evident as I answer questions. But I want to get one of my smaller but more painful weaknesses out of the way, and that is, I don't feel tall. In my head, I'm 5'11". Kind of a normal guy in my head. And I think the reason for that is that's how tall I was at the middle of my senior year of high school. At Christmas of senior year, I was 5'11". And then I grew to this over the next less than a year. And so in my head, this is not me. And that has important consequences. I just want to tell you one quick story, then I'll get to the business at hand. I was, as you heard from Charles, the Deputy Attorney General, the #2 person in the Justice Department when George W. Bush was president. And that's a job that Rod Rosenstein holds now, and it's an operational job. Your job is not the Attorney General's role, which is policy, outward facing. Your job is to try to go to meetings and make hard decisions. And so I had to go an awful lot in that role to the White House. Not to the fancy part of the White House, but to underneath the West Wing of the White House, which is where the Situation Room is. Now, the Situation Room is not a room, it's a collection of rooms, little cubicles, and some conference rooms, and then one conference room that's confusingly called the Situation Room. And it's in the basement, as I said, underneath the West Wing. And if you've been on a tour, or you've noticed when you've seen pictures of the Oval Office, that space has these incredibly high ceilings. And it always struck me that they got the space for that by taking it from underneath. Because there are spots in the Situation Room complex where I literally cannot stand straight up. So that all figures in this story. So one day, I'm on my way to a meeting with the President of the United States. It's going to be in the Situation Room conference room. And it's about something important, obviously, and I'm late. Truth be told, I wasn't late. George W. Bush had this annoying habit of starting meetings early, and so you were late unless you were early even though you were on time. And so I was late and asked the driver of my armored Suburban that drove me around, told him we had to hurry, got to get there ahead of the president. So we roar into the driveway between the old executive office building and this awning entrance that takes you underneath the West Wing into the Situation Room, and I jump out of the car and I'm going really fast. And that day I'm wearing something new. Not actually new, because as a father of 5 with my wife staying home, I didn't have money for actual new shoes. And so I would resole the Rockports when they wore out. But this day it was very exciting. I had new soles and new heels on my Rockports. Also going to figure what's about to happen. And so I'm rolling in, having no idea what a calibrated ducker I've become, because I'm 5'11" in my head. And I go past the Secret Service agent, and I turn to go into the conference room. And I hit my head so hard on the door frame that I rocked all the way back. And the agent says, "Sir, are you okay?" And I lied. I said, "Yes, I'm fine." And I kept going because I had to get there ahead of the president. So I get into the conference room, and I see his seat is empty. I take my seat, see my nameplate on 2 chairs from the president. I sit down, he comes in seconds later, I stand up, I sit down, and then we have a meeting for 45 minutes about something that I'm sure was really important, but I have no recollection of what happened. And not because I was concussed, but because I was distracted. Because a few seconds into the meeting, the president, as close to me as I can reach and touch, I feel warm liquid on my scalp. And I realize I'm bleeding, and I'm bleeding good. And so I do what I think any normal person would do. I begin tilting my head to keep the blood inside my hairline. And so I look like this, contemplative, and I have no idea what President Bush thought of me, but he never saw my blood that day. And so I go home and I tell my amazing wife, Patrice, that story, and she says, "You tell that story like that's normal." I think it's awesome. So I'm 6 feet 8 inches tall. That's out of the way.